Hey, well, welcome to the Dream Labs. Dr. Contrast Live here, folks. Just thought I'd give you a really quick little introduction here. I think it was interesting if you were with us. And by the way, thank you for joining us. Shadow, good to have you on board. And man, I'm looking forward to seeing some really cool things. What is that ugly thing? Yeah, I think yeah, you're right. It's a bit of an ugly statement, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to go back to the process that we're looking at here. This brings back a lot of memories, actually. And I think I first started my Twitch programming with this project. It was a G12 introduced by Origin. Nice. I mean, there's really some neat surfaces with it, but they pulled off a GTR version, and we felt Shadow, my wingman, so to speak, didn't really have a real GTR or a race character feel to it. So we began an assault on maybe taking some of the things and some of the visual clues from this machine and converting it into a closed body GTR system for like a Le Mans prototype machine of some sort, but still giving it some real guttural effects to it. So this is where it all started, and I just thought I brought this image back just for this purpose. And we'll take you through the history of some of the sketches we've done, and then I'll go through some variations on theme. As I said in my earlier comment to Shadow, I mean, today, after looking at what we had accomplished, I really felt like it was more advantageous now, based on certain things we're looking at and the direction of the character, of materials, and design, to really go a lot meaner and leaner. So you'll see some things happening in the next few moments about where we're going to take this thing to kind of find. And furthermore, we never really finalized a final series of illustration design concept work for printed matter for purchase on our website. So that's all the part of the process that we're looking at. It's all like a multitasking effort here to get some really neat resolves done for the GTR, and also getting into a mass printing process to get some things out there for the public to look at, or the followers to kind of pick up on. So first thing I want to really point out is there were some nice things happening in this machine. One we did like was this very almost shark nose-like canopy system. Very interesting. We get it to drop a little bit, to lower a little bit, some of the clumsiness of these bumperettes, suspension cradles. A little bit on the ordinary side, unnecessary. There was something element we kept. If you notice, we go through the sketches, you'll see later on some of the development here. We went ahead and kept some of the character of this upper. Notice how it cantilevers back. So we kind of shrunk that down, pulled it all forward, and gave a little bit of a canopy relief to it. And then we come back in with some really high flare fender work from front to rear, and then some intake pieces that really floated the body. So it was almost it's a rover with race inspiration. Yeah. So that's what it was. So this is, and also one little detail we kept too was this suspension system was interesting. So you'll see that throughout the process we're going to show you here in a moment. And also this little graphic here on the wheel covers. We got rid of some of the wheel covers and just dropped the whole the pan right down into a front sponson. But the shape of this was interesting. We tried to come back with some of the new stuff we developed to bring some of the little featurettes in the original Origin D12. And then not to abandon it, but to kind of really bring it up to a sophisticated, really true GTR process. So that was what we were after. So that was the inspiration as we started with it here. Now I'll go back through some history on it. These are some very late sketches that we've done. For example, these are some of the early development pieces we did. Let me just kind of put those up front here. These are some real quick little Canson sketches based on getting a little more drama to it. Now we're talking. Yeah, this is several sketches into the process, gang. So I didn't want to bore you to death with a whole bunch of sketches that we've kind of used to get there. But we've slowly started to evolve this thing. And notice we picked up some of that same character of the slope line into the front and rear wheels, closed it all off, dropped the surface down. Got some really interesting exhaust system, almost a whole new power source and cell to work with. Kept the suspension process, looking at a rear three-quarter, kind of dropping the whole thing down to give more of a GT stance to it. So these are really quick, fast pencil sketches done on a Canson paper some time ago. And as I said, it didn't start here. We went through a lot of variations on theme, and it was kind of clumsy in the very beginning, and just really looking forward to getting some more impact into this thing. So this started to turn the corner for us here. This is why I chose this starting point from our pursuit based on the original Origin. So that was sketch number 1. And sketch number 2, the same thing. Looking at, again, look at the overall stance of this guy. We got a little more stretched a little bit, got much more organic with it and began to look at some things. For example, the tail section, again, real low profile. Look how wide that thing is, which is interesting. Again, notice the canopy structure. You'll see it in a little bit here. We kept that same overall canopy of the original photograph of the G12. We just brought it down, shrunk it, and pushed it all forward between the wheels. So there's another little series of sketches. And they kept that really nice round organic form to it. So we kind of really played up this whole GT system, sophisticated yet pretty mean looking, and so there was two. Then we went back to some additional pieces here. These are little elevation studies. Let me drop this down just a bit here. These are some elevation studies about what the potential might be in an elevation. Again, notice a canopy. What you don't see here, you'll see it in a few moments in a few sketches here. Canopy was dropped considerably, had a real hard razor line, brought this into the wheel pant, covered that up, put some little sponsors or canards up front to kind of the little deflectors and tube systems, then brought it into the suspension system we kept. Really closed off the rear wheels as well, but we got a pant system and then intake across the top, engine intake, which proved later on in the sketches to be a little bit clumsy to work with. So we kind of didn't abandon that, but we kind of sophisticated that as well once the surfaces got more and more resolved. And then again, the exhaust system really kind of cantilevered out there, almost like an additional little drop through. And the airflow through this thing is right in between the body cell. This is all floating, and then into the body cell. And behind it, they gave a little bit more aero systems to it as well. So there's another variation of the theme here. Notice a little bit leaner, a little bit lower. We kind of stretched it a little bit more. Brought this drama line through a little bit, a touch more, and put this rake in the front wheel, and really changed the angle of this rear wheel pant close off. So those are a couple of variations that we did there. Then we went from that into some other additionals here. These are some more, again, much more sophisticated. Again, a little bit more vertical. Wasn't really quite there yet. I think more of the lean was what we're after. And again, low canopy, close off the wheels, and get that suspension system in there, and just really drop the surface back. So we had more of a very fluid looking form to it, but yet still maintain some of the original GTR process that we were dealing with here. So this one, again, brought the system right through. Instead of returning it back, just dropped it in and became much more vertical, much lower in the canopy. Again, the intake was still there, and also looking at maybe again the suspension, and it's added. This is forward surface here, and then this in the red area, just kind of tucking it back in. So we're trying to make some changes here in some of the original G12 process. Then all of a sudden the elevation changed, and we thought, hey, you know what? We've done a lot of elevation studies. We've done some 3/4 studies. But what's this thing look like from the front end here? So we kind of pushed into this. This is the front end front 3/4 view we did. Kind of have a beastly look at it here. Began to tell us what the surfaces were doing. And I think this is where it really, hey, I'm Brett, how are you? Hey, sorry I'm late, no problem. Good to have you on board, Brett. Good to see you, sir. Hope you're well. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. I'm sure you're very, very busy, and I certainly appreciate you being on board, Brett. And I, again, hope you're well. A little bit of a revisit here on the G12 process. And the reason we're going through this is, that, just very quickly again, in a stream last Tuesday, working with Shadow and going through the Manticore piece, we decided, we should go back to this G12 thing and really begin to sophisticate a little bit more and go back in and resolve some things we didn't really get a chance to resolve about 3-4 months ago. So this is why I'm going back to the redo. I really felt that I gained some ground here on understanding what the shape should look like and what this form should be doing based on that conversation we had on Tuesday about the Manticore. So the histrionics here is I'm just going through a little bit of a review about where we were and where I'm going to take us here in a few very few moments. A little bit mean on the front side. And notice, again, floating canopy, cockpit area, big sponsor canard underneath here, very strong voluptuous wheel systems, closing it all up, and a lot of air draft underneath the form itself. This started to take on some pretty interesting form here. So that was another evolution in the process of developing the GTR we're looking at. Then we're going to step really a lot on time, quite a bit forward from this series, and we moved into this series here where we actually started to look at what might look like some very interesting, let me move this out of the way. We finally got to a place where this was a very interesting set of circumstances here as far as, let me just put these sketches in order here. This was a very interesting set of circumstances we were looking at here. It all led up to this. This is almost the final sketch we did some months ago on that G12. Now notice, I'm going to bring this back here for a moment just to make a real quick comparison. Notice what we're saying here. In essence, look at how there's a lot of overlap in terms of some of the things we're looking at here. For example, the canopy nose, dropping it down, slimming it up, and making use of the aero system up front. some of the lamping graphics. Look at that little detail here, picking that up in front and giving it, almost reversing it and giving it the same kind of character to maintain some of that original origin character. Again, this suspension support, and again the intake process. Look how much more sophisticated that body form began to look like once we went through a whole series of variations. And again, these are probably the latest, greatest studies we did on getting this thing put together. Again, a very low canopy. Again, almost, if you look at the original origin, the canopy itself is really interesting how it all started to float a little bit, but it was up in the air. We kind of dropped it down, put it inside a nacelle, and floated it between the two sponsons, or the two carriers, catamaran and the wheel surfaces. Big intake for engine systems. These are movable, adjustable aero flaps at the rear section here, some dihedral wing systems to kind of give us a little bit of down drag on the thing. So again, a long journey to get there. So this is a front three-quarter study, and I thought we made some really interesting commentary. Very, very fluid, very significant, and a good step forward, I think, from the GTR original concept from origin. And so that was the front three-quarter. Then there's a rear three-quarter, and again a little bit of elevation. So that kind of puts it a little bit more in perspective here. Look how much more dramatic this thing is from the point of view of all the aspects we've been talking about. Again, very low, almost GTR, original G12 process, canopy shrunk, pulled down and put full forward. A lot of real severe tail section rake into a big exhaust system here, and again a little bit of a cooling canard behind all that. A lot of change of interesting graphics. The same suspension setup. Again, closing off the front wheels, and you can put more aero systems to it. And again, this very large intake to kind of feed the power plant. So pretty interesting stuff. So, and again, the elevation kind of proved out a little bit. That was interesting. How do we kind of look how much more drama there is in that line? And we didn't really go back to that. If I go back to that original, I won't take the time to do so, but the original G12 series had a very straight line going through the canopy, and that just slowed it all. It didn't really look like a GTR problem, as we stated earlier in our conversation. It was not intended to be a racer. It wasn't intended to be a racer, but it didn't have that same land feel that we wanted to get after. So we took it on as a subject matter, and now that we're into it, I think we have to change the name of it, don't we, Shadow? We're going to go ahead and re-signature it and give it our own identity, and then begin to pursue it even further as we begin to develop it and down the line. But again, here's a rear three-quarter, and also a little bit of elevation. So look how much crisper that thing is. I mean, it really looks wicked. And again, here's that same process drawing. There's the canopy drawing through the guy. A lot more low profile, a lot more character, and a lot more racing character to it. It almost looks like it's an evil. It looks quick, it looks nimble, and I think still miles to go as far as getting it all squared away. But that was good. This was a good series stepping forward. So this is where we ended up, both in this front three-quarter study, this one, and this one is where we ended up in terms of front three-quarter and rear three-quarter. Pretty happy with the results there, but I think we could take it further. So let me get rid of that guy for a moment here, and we'll take this guy and discuss it. No, notice what had when I looked at this again, I thought, there's some things here that might be not to be able to resolve. It's on the clumsy side. Do we like the swallowtail? Maybe, maybe not. Can we refine that even further? So just to spend time before going on stream here, just a little bit of study here. Let's kind of put this into place here. Another study on the rear three-quarter, just looking at some of the surface work here, and to kind of break it down a little bit. Again, this is a canopy forward, some couple of additional dihedrals up on top of the canopy, and then just streamlining some of the forms back in through here. And again, instead of having a lot of clumsiness, maybe a dump intake here and a little bit of a wishbone to kind of support the exhaust system here. And again, large intake, same process. So that kind of got us where we are to date. And I think a lot of progress made. I think overall the character looks good. I think some of the elevations and some of the plan view studies, the rear three-quarters look good. However, I'm going to take a little stab at something here. Let's kind of go into phase one here. Here's a ballpoint pen. And I'm going to start looking at some really, where can we take this thing even further? So let's kind of go back in here. Go real lucid. Get this line, so just going to work through for us a little bit. I just want to take a moment, just some real quick little pen sketches, just what we're after here. Let's see what we've got. Let's bring this canopy into place here. Let's get this cockpit, bring that forward, blunt it off here, bring that forward. No, it's really structural here. Let's get a little bit of a sidewall in this guy, bring it down to that peak. Just bring this down to that peak. Flatten that off a bit. Let's go back and get that rear 3/4 area there that we're looking at. There it is there from behind. And there it is from behind. Let's get those dihedrals from the upper in place. Right about there, about right there. Looks pretty good. That's where they're going to go. No, so I'm just kind of blocking the forms here as we go. So here we are. Get that around. Let's kind of take this through. Let's get the little cross member in place. Support bracket. Let's take this on through. Let's get that canopy in place here. Let's get a little bit more wicked with this thing. Yeah, there it is. We'll kind of step this off. There it is. Bring this around. More of a breather in through here. Really quick. Just looking at shape. Let's break this off. Let's get that fender to kind of roll in through here. Peek that through. Bring that on in. I mean, look at all of a sudden just the character of that front end. See, it's getting a little more aggressive with it, and a lot more substantial. I think as far as looking more of a real statement in terms of being really sinister looking. So let's kind of draw through this again. Let's get that all set. Get that fender in place. Draw through here. Connect the dots. Let's get that little dump box in place, a little bit of an intake, a little bit of a different than the upper quarter there. Just kind of drop that in with a little bit of tone. Let's get that into place. Let's get that same lighting graphics we're talking about. Oh, let's do this. Let's get that canard underneath here. Let's get this. Now this comes down and forms like a whale's tail here. Just got a couple of teeth here. Let's take that out. Draw through it. Bring that on through. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, let's draw that through. Let's put a little canard support on the ends here. Put that same lighting graphic in place here. And there it is. Just really rapid here. Let's kind of connect this together. That's the underside of this. So all this in here is all negative. Let's kind of walk that in just a bit. So it's that. Get rid of that. This is all part of the surface here. Look at this. So this shape comes around, tucks back in, goes underneath that body form, and it really looks true ground for. Yeah, how about that? You think there, shadows are making sense? Canopy. Let's put a bit of highlight in this thing so we know where we are. Draw through on this guy. Let's get that same form here. In that lighting, let me draw through this guy. Just remember, I really like to build these sketches. And up and over. And there it is, and there it is. Let's kind of connect that dot. A little bit of reverse on this guy. And that's where we're coming. That little trough comes out off the nose cap and supports that underfoil. Really interesting, really like a night fighter here. So let's go back in through here. Let's get a little more drama in this guy. Pardon me the silence here. I'm just kind of working through some of the surface work here. Let's get that little numerical piece in here. Let's put a little window tint in this guy. Canopy sightline. Let's get a little bit more of this, a little softer here. Just kind of put a radius on this guy. Put a bit of beef to it. Fender peak, fender, come back out of it. Again, that's starting to look on, that's starting to have some real character. I think it's interesting that we're looking at this. Hey, Tubbs33, you too, my friend. Good to have you on board, man. Let's see, Tubbs30, when you look in the rear view and get scared, you might be seen. Yeah, that's what we want to do. Tubbs, good to have you on board. Thank you, sir, for joining us here. Interesting how that all comes together. Let's kind of do this. And put a little bit of this into it, a little bit of tone here. It's going to give it more zip to it. There we are. Number uno, bring that on through. Let's put more tone in this guy too, so we kind of just put more shadow in there, so it kind of drops out. There we are. And again, what I want you to notice is this. Look at the difference here, if I can find the right sketch here. Now this had some This had some nice character to it. I'm not denying that at all. That had some pretty interesting character to it. It was forthright. We had some character established by it. Hey, Stuart, how are you? Looking forward to it here. We had some character established here. Pardon me for picking it up here, but it met the needs we were after the official initial outline of the benchmarks for the GTR we were going to develop. But after looking at it, I thought, boy, we could get a lot more sinister with this thing, a lot meaner. So again, look at the difference in the character, that front end pace here. We really begin to look at this thing. Yeah, we've kept most of the flavor, but we've really kind of revised it more insect-like, a little bit more evil looking. So hey, Ladislaus, how are you? Thank you to have you on board, man. Thank you so much for joining us here. Let's go back and get a little more tone in this thing. What I want to develop here. Let's kind of get back in through here. Let's say we put a bit of high-level lighting in this thing. Put a bit of just enough of that. Some GT touring stuff. Not that that's going to make a big difference, but it will. And there we are. There. Let's put a little bit of splits in this guy. All of a sudden, this got some meanness to it. I think you're right there. Just nice. Bring this up. Let's get that same little dump box on top of the upper quarter. A little bit of an intake. Let's drop that in. And all of a sudden, that's starting to look pretty interesting. A little bit of glass in this game. Yeah, a little bit of a strut support. A little strut support for the dihedral underneath, and really slice this thing off. I think that's got this has some potential now, I think. Let's see, let's put a bit of tone in this thing too, so we kind of see where the airspace is. So it goes right through. That's that. And as does this. It's got a little more tint to it. Let's kind of drop that back just a bit, because that all goes underneath that body form. Let's put more definition in through here. This could be another intake piece. Why not? A little bit of cooling systems here. Just kind of tone that back just a bit more. Ballpoint pen, nice and easy. Doing this off. Really gesturally sketches. I mean, I'm a big believer in just drawing through and following through and kind of putting a romance into a sketch and so forth. I mean, look at the character of that guy. Awesome drawings, as usual. Oh, thank you very much. And not awesome, just a lot of fun to work with. You guys are way too kind. This is what I call it, scratching and hoping it works. Yay. So here we are. Let's put a little bit under here. Again, through here. And again, don't lose sight of the intent we're after. The intent is we've had a lot of neat stuff going on in terms of the G12 we started with initially, but I just want to bring it up. I just want to bring it up an input here. It's just really kind of neat in terms of seeing how we could kind of get this thing to be a lot, not I don't want to use the term romantic, but a lot more sinister. That's a horrible thing to say at this stage of the game, but I think that we're after. We had a nice sophisticated surface to work with when we started, but I think we want to make this thing a little more sinister as we go here. All right, so there's one. Let's go back and do another one here. Let's kind of go back in and get there's the body form. Let's get that center line to come right through the canopy. There it is. See, I'm beginning to build that surface. You start with a nice simple form, for example. Just interesting how you start with a circle, then you begin to find its center line. Now, build that out of that. Come out of here, and come out of here. Blunt it off. Get that canard, bring it on. I mean, that line there is critical. That tells me where my center line is. And I hate to go into a teaching mode here, but it helps me to see that, okay, am I doing the right thing here? I hope. If not, we'll find out. Now let's get those fenders in place. Really swell them out here now. I can really exaggerate that fender line. And again, same thing over here. Bring that fender line right out of there. Get the rear end to kind of kick up. Take that and let's appear that whole part of that upper. Now let's get that there's a lid there, and just bring that right on down in the form. Look at that, just like that. It comes together. Break it here, break it there. Bring that inside form in. Bring that inside form in. Oh, look at that. Now that's getting some really interesting stuff going on here. That's cool. Fun stuff. So let's kind of break this out. And combine the canard with a whole different look here. Let's do this. Bring that on through, draw through it. Make sure you know where you are. Come back through it, draw through it again. Kick that side out. Let's get the lamping graphics in place. Let's tone this thing out. Let's get those canards in place. There's the tail section. Let's bring that into play. Let's get that all set. I mean, look at that. All of a sudden, man, that thing's starting to look as a really interesting. It's about to come out of the paper. And yeah, hey, very cool. Thank you, sir. Nice. So there it is there. Let's get a bit of tone in this thing. Let's get this upper to place in here. Let's get that in there. Let's get that in there. Let's get that cross member in place now. How's that? That's how this is all connected. Again, there's my build line right there. That line right there is so critical. That becomes my center line. Let's get another bouncer out here. Character. Let's get that cove to work in here. To imply the fact that that body form, this thing floats right through the entire form. A little bit lighter on this side. Just to let you know there's a little bit of a dip in here. There it is. Let's take that through. Let's get that same lighting graphic up on top. End it, and end it. Let's take a little bit of a section through here. Let's put a little bit of a dihedral on it. There it is. Let's put some night lighting on this guy. A little fog lighting down below. If we're running at Le Mans, it might take place there. Let's got to get that kick underneath here. Let's get that little return here. Let's get that little return there. And let's put that. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think we're starting to get some real character in some of those sketches. What do you think? Front-end graphics making sense? Stuart, we haven't named our vehicle yet, but we're thinking as far into the future as we can to make it in the SC universe. Yeah, I think that would be kind of fun. The naming process should be a lot of fun, guys. So we're going to, like we said the other day with Shadow in my program, working on this the Manicore series, we want to look at that and put a whole new name to it. So we kind of put some identity to it. So there's two front-end studies. Let me just tighten down just a bit here. Let's do a little bit of this. A little more definition here. Let's kind of get this to kind of come underneath. That streamer comes off the underbody, takes me underneath the vehicle. Then we'll return here. And there it is. And maybe a little strut system here. There you go. That's cool. Kind of support that guy because we're going about 4,000 miles an hour. We're going to need to keep that sponsor in good shape here. Let's see. What do you think, gang, so far? Is this helping or hindering the cause? What do you think? I'm not really kind of focusing in on any really neat F0. Yeah, cool. I'm not looking for anything really finalizing here. I just want to look at a real stance in terms of what are we after from where we are here. And again, I keep going back to this. I think there's some real significance being made here in terms of look at the content in terms of let me get those guys on. There we are. Again, there's some interesting character being maintained there. But I think we really push a lot more of the envelope in terms of this is safe and it's nice, but there's something about more aggressive looking. And maybe we take a real good shot at making this thing a lot meaner, a lot more, for lack of a better term, much more stealth-like. But still have enough organic material in it to really kind of make it like a crank here. I forgot how good it got. it traveled it went a lot of places, Shadow, and we did mention it. So what about a bullet train profile with a large thruster? Yeah, that could be cool too, Stuart. That's neat. Long snout. Yeah, we're gonna see that in a moment here. I think to extend this thing out that's a good call. So let's do a little elevation here. Let's get what does this thing look like in elevation now? Let's get the wheel in place. Let's get that fender to roll over here. Maybe we take this back a little more. Maybe we just drop it off. There you go. And that's that. Let me pick this real strong drive line right up and just drop it right through. Yeah, now really bury that upper. Look at that. I mean, now, look at the gesture there. All of a sudden, that thing is taking on a whole different character here. Give me a rudder. That's pretty cool. Now, let's come back and do this. Let's put it off of there. Let's bring that right on through. Extend that scoop like you brought it there, Stuart. There it is. That's that. Let's get that far side fender in place. Let's open that up just a bit. Let's get this up, draw through it. Again, that same kind of dihedral off the front wheels, or the form itself. Comes through, picks up a line off that canopy, and it really gets darty right in through there. All of a sudden, it comes right off of that shoulder line. Let's take that shoulder through, drop it, extend it, and it comes right back in and get a real strong, deep. There it is, back into that. And again, really get aggressive with this thing. Look at this. Fun stuff, gang. Ooh, and now this. Underlift, support, suspension, pulls off the wheel, far side graphic, rear wheel, embodied in there, far side fender, sponson, and again, maybe off the back end of this thing too. There we are. I mean, look at the kick in that quarter hip right there. Big difference. Now, exhaust. Just enough cantilever back there to kind of let it sneak out from behind. And again, adjustables that kind of move at speed. I mean, look at the gesture on that guy. What do you think, boys? Making sense here? Fun stuff, man. So far, so good. Let's kind of ground it just a bit. Intake, fender, oop, let me get this on. Yeah, sorry about that. Hey, Starship, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Hey, man, good deal. Good to have you on board there, Starship. Nice. We're just going through some revisions on some of the G12 stuff. We never really felt like, for example, let me stop for a moment. Nemo, great to have you on board. Man, it's a joy to see you back on board here. I'm just going through like a little bit of a redo, a little refreshment of where we were. Some of the last things we did, I you remember this, I'm sorry to bring this back up. That's the last phase we had. Kind of nice. That solved the problem. But the more I work with this thing, the more we kind of carried on some of the stream work on Tuesday, Thursdays, and going back into it. And what really triggered it was last Tuesday of this week, working with Shadow and some of the Manticore stuff. We said, well, we're going to go back and refresh this G12 process because we had some neat stuff going on, but we may take it a little further based on what we learned from the Manticore, which I think was great. I mean, it absolutely worked terrifically. So I went through a little history of where we were, how it all started, and went through some sketch development work. And you know, that's where we are. This is where we left off. But I'm going back in and starting to be a little. I want to make a little. I don't want to lose a lot of flavor, or Nemo and the audience. I just want to really refresh this thing and really give this thing a really good, solid shot at being a little bit newer looking. So here we are. We're just going through some ballpoint pen sketches for the time being. You know, what do you think, man? But boy, it's good to have you on board, Nemo. Thank you. As it is for Stuart and everybody else is on board. Shadow and the gang. Thank you so much for joining here. Let me go back and put a little bit of ground line on this beauty. Ground it down just a bit. Get that well in the kind of place. There it is. Real loose sketches. There we are there. Just gonna get this guy planted. Intake. And the intake. A little bit of a feather on the back of this guy. Let's see where I'm at. Here we are. Got it. How that surface, what's interesting about that profile, how that surface kind of leans in and just bends back into that rear quarter hip there. Wow, like that rounded version on the top left. It looks like a hovercraft. Yeah, I think that's a much stronger approach to Starship. I agree. And again, the whole intent here is to kind of take what we have, you're going to massage a little bit more and get a little bit leaner and meaner. Just interesting stuff here on the top left. Very interesting. I just kind of round this thing up. There's a little bit, this one was still a bit too safe. Happy with the content? Yeah, but not quite where we needed it to be. It was just so interesting in terms of putting it all together. So those are just some really quick little rough studies. I'm going to carry on with some more sketch rendering work here, but keep in mind the intent is to get this thing to really begin to sing into some things about, pardon me, settling on a real good design direction and taking it into a real nice series of final renderings, front and rear 3/4. I think I'm going to concentrate on getting a good aggressive look to this, even in elevation and front studies first, and then get back in and begin to refine the process as we go here. So pardon me, make sure I'm guilty. So there's the first pass at looking at this rework here. I want to be very clear too. This is not something just for fun and fancy and going through a drawing exercise. There's a real valid reason here why we're all gathered. We're all big fans of Star Citizen. We're all big fans of vehicle design. We're all big fans of sportsmanship. And I think that the thing I'm looking forward to is getting your input on which direction to take here. Is it going to be much more aggressive, much meaner, rounder? Are we happy with where we are? Your input means an awful lot. So I really appreciate the time taken here to kind of feed back and forth about what direction we're taking. So, but again, the bottom line is to really find a resolve here that really makes sense in terms of what this new G12, which we're going to rework. Hey Nemo, by the way, we're going to rename this thing. We can't. We're not going to go with G12 anymore. So if you've got some really cool names in the back burner, pass them on. We'd love to just take a look at them and go from there. Stuart, this is a clean racer. Or are we adding weapons? We're going to add weapons too, I think. We'll make sure we're going to cheat as much as we can on the track, Stuart. So yeah, we're going to put some missile stuff in this thing and some armamentation. So that'd be kind of cool. So there's phase one. Let's put that aside for a moment. Let's go back into another series. Let's see what this thing looks like in the overview. Ready? Let's get the wheels down. I always like to start by planting those wheels and get that thing all set. And there we are there. Let's get that profile in place. That front fender a little tightened up. Mind the way here. There we go. A little bit of that razor. Let's bring this back into play. Let's get this guy to drop in. Let's get this thing off that front end. Let's get that far side. Let's get that center line in place here too. There I am. There's my construct. There's my nose piece. Now notice, I think with Stuart bringing that nose forward a little bit more, that's kind of neat. Kind of drop it down just a bit. Very, very cool. So there we go. Let's get that dihedral off the front, and there it is there. This comes off that fender. That grows there. There's the far side fender here. Let's get that in place. That to that. Again, same. Let's draw through it. Find out where those sponsors are going to fall. So it's there. Again, real loose. Just starting to build a sketch here as we go. Now notice, let me stop there for a moment. Look where I'm getting, look where that canopy is going. Let's go back, if I can find that original, that whole idea, that whole concept right there is going back to what we're doing right. Let me come back and make a real quick comparison here. Once again, we didn't want to lose an awful lot of the same character in the actual capsule of the original, the Origin G12. However, now it's interesting that notice again, look at the shape of that thing, how it kicks back on itself, and it has a little bit more of a shark nose to it, thanks to Captain Nemo. Now, what I've done here is this. Notice that same form right there, kind of same overall shape. We just kind of suppressed it, dropped it down a bit, and gave it some real impact here. So let's kind of go back to that. And that's what I want to really, again, some of the things that we did originally from that original piece are still applicable. Let's kind of get this in place here. Let's go back into, let's get this upper. There's my center line, construction line right there. It's going to come right through. Give me that. It's going to drop down just a bit. I'm going to pick up that, let's pick up that hip. And there's almost like more of a speed tail. There it is there, 3/4 overhead. Let's get this shape down. And there it is. Let's kind of kick it back underneath here. Let's get that center line to drop. Let's get that far side hip to go in. Now, look at the gesture all of a sudden come together now. That's cool, isn't it? Really neat. No more G12. It looks quite different. Yeah, looks even more extreme than the G15 now. Hey, good. That's good to know. Thank you, sir. Let's drop this in. Let's get that all placed in. Let's come back and get that body form. There it is. This time I think I'll decide to hide that suspension piece underneath it all. Let's kind of get this place here. Let's kind of get that. Let's drop that into place. Let's get that down. Intake. And again, let's get the real slippery glass surface in here. Let's get that, just draw that through. There's my canopy. There it is. There's my header. There it is there. Let's get that little refueling dump. Just gonna get that in place. And swallowtail the back end of that thing. So it's still that same little swallowtail, but a little bit of a different variation of the theme here. Let's get this in place. Let's get that real slim looking canopy, and it just kind of dives into that quarter. How cool is that? There you are, gang. That's a pretty rough little ideation of where we are here. We were having fun going with a blank sheet that it fits the SC. Yeah, I think that's going to be fun. It was just not workable. We had to leave the G2. Yeah, it just wasn't workable. Maybe this one is either. I'm not sure, guys, but let's find out. We're going to find out for sure. Let's kind of go back and through here. Let's kind of find out where those center lines are. Let's go back and, again, open up that, close that wheel form down. Let's get the little cross brace in place here. And there's my glass line. Just fun stuff. There it is. Let's kind of go back in through here. Let's put a bit of tint in this thing now. Hope this is reading out. There we go. This is all part of that cradle system where the cockpit is, the survival cell that comes in. And this time I'm gonna walk it right through into this area here. Knock out that far side glass. A little bit of horizon line and the canopy itself. And really quick sketches. Just trying to get a character down. Some really impact on this thing. What do you think, guys? Hey, she's mean. Yeah, that's great. Very good. I think we're achieving some things here, folks. Phenomenal. There it is. A little bit of a wing there. Back again. Notice that upper, to me, it's really interesting how that upper collapses. It has that same character as the cockpit and the original G12. Let's put a little bit of shadow in this thing. A bit of ground shadow. Get that into play. Oh, let's get this rear kick here. There it is. It drops in, that does that, and that comes right back and creates this really interesting, this foil back here. There it is. Let's put a little section in this thing. Drops in, comes in, up, kicks back in, drops over. It gives us this. A little bit of let's put a little bit of an offset back into here. That's where it dropped back into the exhaust area. You won't see much of it in this view, but it cantilevers back in through there. Let's put a little rear view, little access window in this thing. There we go. Starting to come together all right there, gang. What do you think? Okay, super. You're not that's right. Yeah. It's me. Let's get into place here. I just want to see if we can get kind of put a little more heat to this thing here. Let's try this. So it was a little bit of fun to get some character in this guy. Let's do this. And we'll put a little bit of this to it. Yeah, there we go. That's cool. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere. This, into that, into a little bit of this. A bit of surface work in here. Man, this thing is mean. Look at that. This is cool. Yeah, let's get a little bit of that. And while I'm at it here, pardonnez-moi, get some of the arsenal on here. Make myself a real mess. A bit of ground shadow. Pardon me as I make a mess here. Boy, man, get your hands all goofy here, but it's worth it. There we are. Let's get this little brush in here and kind of knock this thing out. What do you think, gang? Does it have some character to it or not? Has that got some presence? Yikes. Now that's got some real presence there, man. I think this is going to be a lot of fun to work with here. Let's just do this too. I mean, when I'm out of here, let's get this in place. A little more shadow in here. Glass. And then glass. A little more contour underneath this guy to kind of drop it off just a bit more. And we'll kind of blend that in just a bit more. Take it back through. A little bit of ground surface in this guy. And there it is. And let me come back in through here. Sorry, once again, we'll add a bit of color. How's that? Put a little bit of zip to it here. Oh, there you go. What do you think, gang? Does that have some character to it or not? What do you think? Let me stop here for a moment and get some feedback here. What do you think, gang? Is this coming along all right? See this? We'll add it here. We got a bit of highlight. Let's get rid of some of this mess. There we are. This kind of cleans it up just a bit more. There we are. There we go. What do you think? Presents? Yay, nays? Yes, very good, Stuart. Cool. Thank you so much. What do you think, gang? What do you think, Nemo? Are we on the right track here, or are we just kind of not pushing it far enough? Well, let me do this. I see a little bit of a flaw here. Let's get that inside fender to read a little bit better on the other side. There it is. I think there's a little more depth in the perspective. There it is. Very cool. How about you think there, gang? There she is. A little more depth, a little more. It's here and gone. There you go. Yeah, let's hope so. Well, let me see if I can clean my hands up here a little bit and go back to a little bit of ballpoint pen sketch work here. Let me get a sheet of paper to protect this pad here, so it'll make some smudges on the sketches we're dealing with here. A little bit of a cover pad. Let's see. Here we are. Here we are right there. Do a couple more little elevation studies here. We'll see what we've got here. So, well, while I'm at it, let's kind of beef this line work up just a bit. It's going to get more impact in it. All right, let's go back and get this. Another possible variation here. Let's get this out of the way here. The glass graphics. And that snout right through. And that canard system. There it is there. Gonna break that up just a bit. Center on the wheel. Body form. Compound in through here just a bit. A little cleaner, not so many offsets. Let me turn this around just a bit here, guys. Sorry. There you go. There's another little variation on theme, almost like a wedge in through here. It just kind of pinches in. Maybe the plan view it has more of a step out, then it kind of kicks back in a little bit. So that's an interesting little piece here. Let's do this. Got a little bit of presence to it. Let's just give some atmosphere here. Make sure we know that that's all negative space underneath there. That does that. That comes out of that, and it does that. There we go. There's another little variation on the theme right there. So there's another elevation looking at how it might begin to function. Oh, we got a note here from Stuart. What do we got here? Stuart, I feel like a laser cannon should flip up the snout. Like those old, where are we here? Like those old, Where am I? Like those old Lambo headlights when you're, yeah, there you go, definitely. I can almost hear it. Yeah, very cool. Streamlabs. And then again, yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. We get some Canon working, that can be kind of cool to work with there. So we'll see if we can work that out in future reference here. Let me move along here and just keep trying to battle through finding some resolve here for this new, leaner, meaner looking machine we're going to develop here. So again, there's another still study on an elevation here. It's okay. Let's go back down to this one. Get the wheels in place, get that ground line established. Oh, am I in the way here? There you go. I'm sorry about that. Again, same process. Let's get those wheels just going to roll right in there. Let's get that canard to come off of that. That's interesting. Let's roll this back. Really bring that snout forward. Let's just roll that right in there. That. And that speed tail, really extend this guy. Oh, there we go. How about that for a gesture? Wow, fun stuff, man. Thanks for joining in. Can't wait to further this baby. There you go. All too dark. Yeah, gotta fly. No problem. Thanks for tuning in there, Shadow. So far, so good. A massive intake. A bit of glass graphics in here. This is a little sheer, the more or less organic, but I still think it has a presence about it that can be kind of fun to work with here. Another little deliverance here. Let's get that wheel to kind of plant itself. Rear quarter, there it is there. And that's it. And that's it. A little bit of a ground line in this side. And a little bit of tint inside that intake. And there you go. There's another elevation study there. What do you think there, gang? Everybody still on board here? Please give me a quick nod. What do you think so far? I mean, we're making progress with this guy, especially over at the three-quarter head here. Just kind of interesting surface work to deal with. I'll kind of stop there for a moment and get a little bit of feedback. Let me just turn this around, put a little bit of frame in this guy. It's there. And behind there. There we go. There's phase 2. Let's see. Starship sure works. Very cool, Stuart. I would say you made great. Thanks very much, Stuart. I think it's really kind of interesting to see it all. Just kind of pushed it all ahead a little bit to give a little more impact to this thing. And last but not least, I'm going to try this too. Let me just put that right there. There's the first study we did on the facelift. There's the first pass of little thumbnail sketches that we kind of worked on, some front end graphics. Then maybe an elevation of some sort. But again, look at the difference in the elevation from that to that. And I think I can get these guys to work a little bit. Look at the difference in elevations from where we were here to this family of packages here. I think this guy, he's got some interesting elevation size. They're really kind of leaning toward this kind of an approach, or a real good long tail look to it, speed tail. Let's see. I would say, there we go. Let's get these out of the way for a second. Let me close the program up with doing this. I'm running a little bit low, but I want to show you something else too. I roughed this out, and I just want to see what you think of this little study here. Let me kind of bring this into play, and we'll just kind of get real quickly with it and just get it down. I'm going to do a little tone study here. So I've got this, into this, coming into this. So you get that into play there. What do you think, gang? Coming along all right here? There's a little bit of tone paper sketch here. Just put a little 3/4 front in this guy. See, we kind of bring some things together here. Let's sharpen this guy for a bit. There we are. Now let's do a little quick thing here, and we'll wrap it up. Let's put a bit of tone in this guy. Bit of shadow. Pardon me, I'll turn this upside down to blend this in a little bit more. it is. We'll turn that right side up. Thanks for your patience there, gang. I'm just trying to lay in some real quick little graphics here to kind of settle this form. See what you think. Back to ground line. Back into form. Implying that the light source is coming in from behind. So what do you think there, gang? Stuart, hey, I'll say this, Doc, having seen your stuff in person and then watching you work, yeah. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Stuart. Really do appreciate that very, very much. So I think this is just, I'm going to stop right there. Well, let me do this. Get that intake in place. Settle that, there it is there. And put a little more highlight in this guy and call it a day. And just for what it's worth, there's just a little start of a value study here to get this thing rolling off the paper. So what do you think there, gang? Just want to make sure we had a little bit of time spent to kind of put some pieces together for this thing. Really interesting, I think, in terms of where we started. Again, I'm not unhappy at all with the development we did in some of the earlier GT stuff. Let's go back to this guy. Not unhappy a bit. I mean, I think there's a lot of merit here, but I think we could just push it further. And the conversation we had today was really, really helpful. Looks even better on the tone. Yeah, it does. It really kind of brings out, I think, some of the surfaces so much better. Nemo, so I'm going to start doing some more studies like this in the next few days and some of the stream work and meet sponsorship logos. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, to get some sponsorship, but that'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it? So that's really cool. So I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to leave that right there, and I'll start picking up some things maybe next week on developing a little further. We've got a pretty good architectural stance to work with here. Really interesting to kind of see it all come together. So to all of you who tuned in throughout the course of the day, so thankful for the time spent here, guys. You make a huge difference in the approach here, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be with me. Let's see. I also like the flowing shapes, nice origin and design language. Feel yeah. We didn't terminate a lot. We just kind of brought it back in and sophisticated a little bit, Nemo. So that was part of the premise as well, to not take away all the origin stuff, but kind of refine it into a genuine GTR process. We'll come back and refine some of this, guys, a little bit more. I just want to do a little bit of tone paper study to get it all put together for us to kind of call the end of the show. So again, the rework I think is coming along nicely. I'm going to go back and rethink some of this stuff, tune in some things, bring all these pieces together and finalize it, and I'll let you know by notification when we're going to start that process again. And last but not least, I really want to thank you for taking the time. Again, as I said, you mean a lot to me being here. And again, if you have a minute and want to visit my website at drcontrast.com, you'll see some interesting things from a drawing point of view, some lesson studies, so pass that along. I'm also interested in really having my followership increase. So if you know of anybody who's interested in looking at this kind of stuff, please pass my name along and my time frame along. I'd love to build my audience in addition to having you guys on board as well. It's been a real joy, and I always close with this. I think it's the most important part of the entire day. Sincerely mean it, and again, never forget to remember to dare to be great, because you guys are. Thanks so much, gang. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in, and the rework is on its way, so stay tuned, strap in, and we'll kind of get this thing into qualifying speed as soon as we can. Take care, gang. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you. All the best. Mm.